Welcome to another episode of the Soothing Semantics podcast. I am your host, Rafi Pinsky. As always, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments for all of your South Florida real estate needs. Make sure to follow me at Rafi the Realtor, and make sure to check out my weekly newsletter so you can stay in the know of everything happening in South Florida. This week we have Mike Gamel, who is better known as Coptic Kapara on the gram, on TikTok, on YouTube. He's Coptic Cave, and he is a Coptic Christian Egyptian, former anti-Zionist, former Israel hater. You could say even former Jew hater, who has over the years become a very, very supportive non-Jew. You can look at the background of his screen, and you'll see that he's quite the Israel supporter. So Mike and I have become friends over the last, I think, a year by now. We've probably known each other for at least a year, if not longer. And we haven't met yet in person, but we talk pretty often.
Yep.
And I'm happy to have you on for another episode because we're going to get into current events, man. We're going to get into Iran. You always have such amazing insight. You really know more than such a large number of Jewish people, and you aren't even Jewish yourself. And it's just it's a pleasure knowing you, man. So thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me again. I'm gonna make one small correction because you said Coptic Christian, because I'm not Christian. Coptic Noahide, just so everybody knows, because sometimes people hear Coptic Christian and they get their hopes up because they think I'm Christian and I'm gonna have the same beliefs as them. But yeah, Coptic Noahide.
All right. Well, maybe you'll do your conversion at some point. I
Yeah,
I,
who knows?
I can
Who
kind
knows?
I don't know. I'm kind of feeling the vibes that Nick Matau and Mike Gamal might be joining the coin cutters at some point.
God.
I don't know. Something's telling me my intuition's speaking, so it could be. But Mike, I want to kind of get into Iran. That's the focus of conversation right now in American politics. It's at the forefront of everything war related. Russia and Ukraine has kind of it's on the back burner. There's all these other wars going on that nobody really gives a shit about. I haven't heard anything about like Pakistan and India or Afghanistan and Pakistan. Like that's also it's all about Iran, the United States, and Israel right now. So as you know, Israel has been attacked. There have been casualties. There's been quite a lot of injuries. These missiles, these hypersonic ballistic missiles, are no joke. They can cause serious damage. They're incredibly fast, and thank God Israel has bomb shelters. But nonetheless, these are major threats. And now it's come out that these missiles can reach as far as 4,000 kilometers. They can hit Europe. So now the Europeans seem to be finally waking up. What are your thoughts on all of this craziness?
Man, where to even begin? Um, it's something I thought about a lot today, and so I'm gonna sort of start from the end of everything, right? Brace for impact. They're gonna cut a deal soon. It's just the rhetoric coming out of the Trump administration. He's signaling that he wants to end this war as soon as possible. It is I mean, the polls speak for themselves. Over 70% of the American people don't support this war. And if I'm being honest, if the primary goal was regime change, which it isn't, the primary goal is to um, degrade the IRGC's capabilities to project its power outwards, to produce ballistic missiles, to end its nuclear program. Those were the primary objectives. If it cultivated the atmosphere for regime change, that would have been great. But that was always a secondary objective. And it sucks because I support the war for the purpose of regime change. And the time to strike was between December and January. That was the time to strike. Between then and when was it? February 28th when the war commenced. Um, all the IRGC did was slaughter Iranians in the tens of thousands, and it gave them a chance to import militias from Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iraq, Lebanon, Yemen. And so it allowed them to consolidate power. And by the time the strikes happened, the campaign by USA and Israel, it was really hard. It's really hard to reignite that uprising. Um, the Iranian people went through absolute hell, man. Like I mean, if you call what happened in Gaza a genocide, what was that? That was just wholesale slaughter, man. I don't even have the words for that. So yeah, brace for impact because the regime is not going to go anywhere. I hate saying that. I hate saying that. But yeah,
It really sucks. First of all, I don't know if your mic is on. It kind of sounds like it might not be. Just a thought. Like, we
could
can
you not
test it.
hear me?
No, I definitely hear you. I just don't know if it doesn't have a deep sound like it's coming through it though. That's the only problem.
How about now?
Yeah, maybe try to turn it closer to you, like kind of angle it more in your face.
All right.
Yeah, it's much better now.
All right.
Yeah, if it's like kind of like I have it like this, you can hear it pretty clearly on my end, right?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. It's better. Yeah, dude. I mean, if the regime is going to stay in power, then what was this all for? It's nothing, to be honest. It's actually a complete waste. Israel got so close. The problem is the reality, dude, is Israel needs to be able to do it on its own, and it's very scary to do it on its own. But the reality is most Americans don't feel that it's threatening to them as long as missiles can't reach them. And even if missiles could reach them, many Americans are going to blame Israel for the reason that the missiles are even hitting the United States. So what this is telling me is Israel needs to be fully self-sufficient militarily. It's a scary thought because once Iran doesn't feel that America is going to back Israel, it's going to feel a lot bolder to attack Israel. In which case America, could step in. You could argue whether they should step in, but in it, if we stop this war and Iran recoups and they get they're able to restock everything, which obviously they would do. Israel needs to make sure they don't get any nuclear weapons, and it needs to get going on military self-sufficiency because it's the only way it'll ever guarantee they don't get a nuke. So this is how I see it. Either America and Israel go all the way with this and get regime change. And then if there's a Shah, if Pahlavi or someone else who's a lot more moderate and wants peace with Israel steps in, that's a different story. But until that happens, Iran's going to continue to be a threat. They're going to arm proxies. So Israel's in a tough spot because, I'm sure Bibi knows all of this. There's no doubt. But if Israel needs to push Hezbollah to the Litani, they need to make sure that Gaza is not a threat. They need to make sure that at least the proxies are not a threat. Because if Iran stays in power, you know, they need to be a threat from a distance. But if they're able to fund the proxies and those proxies can continue to attack Israel, then all of this was a big, huge, fat waste. That's my take.
Yeah, it's another thing because you brought up the Shah, the crown prince. Nothing was done outside diplomatically to, facilitate any momentum for another uprising. Even Trump, when he would speak about the crown prince, would like distance himself, sort of like pour cold water over the idea of him, becoming a transitional leader for the Iranians. And it's just, it is sort of a monumental disappointment from the international community because we live in this world, particularly in the West, where, you know, the ideas of enlightenment are often championed. Everybody supposedly wants freedom for everybody else. I heard free Palestine, God knows how many fucking times for the last 3 years. did not hear free Iran much. And you would think that these countries that have, Iranian embassies, sorry, IRGC embassies, would kick out all their diplomats. And it would have been nice to see some sort of initiative where Iranians in the diaspora can use the former IRGC embassies as like a voting center to get some sort of like transitional momentum going. Because what was there really like? And if you're Iranian, um, after you just saw, tens of thousands, maybe into the hundreds of thousands of your countrymen like butchered, and you were waiting on help, and Trump sent out that tweet that said help is on the way, and it's just they were getting fucked around. And I don't mean to put this all on Trump. Obviously, the regime, you're not going to take it out merely with airstrikes. At some point, you have to put boots on the ground, and Iran has a lot of natural advantages to its defense. Just one of them being the Zagros Mountains. It's very hard to penetrate into Iran. It's a huge country. Um, but yeah, it's really tough. And I think Israel really needs to seriously create like a 5-year plan to wean itself off American aid and to form alliances elsewhere. Obviously the one response everybody gives is India. Um, that's obviously a good option, but Israel is a smart country. It's a very capable country. There's no shortage of things that they can do. But that autonomy, that self-sufficiency, if it weans itself off American weapons, that also gives its, the sovereignty of its foreign policy back to it. Because let's be honest, Israel to some extent has to answer to the United States.
It's a huge problem. It's a it's it's complicated because you have a group of Americans that do staunchly support Israel, but in their minds, we're moving further and further away from the desire to fight wars, which to an extent I understand. But what I always tell people that are against what's going on in Iran is I say, unless you want to live in Switzerland, if you unless you want to go to Zurich or Geneva, you're living in Big Daddy Town. The United States wants to be and needs to be the biggest dog on the block. If you support democracy, if you support capitalism, it has to make sure that the countries that are effectively its proxies and or allies need to be the strongest in the region. In the Middle East, Israel is that country. So if the US isn't strengthening Israel, another country can come in and fill that gap. So I think Americans kind of miss that. They don't seem to understand how important that is, because if Israel's not the strongest in the region, then another country will be able to come in and kind of, at least they'll control the Middle East. They might not be able to control the entire, they might not be able to take over America's number one spot. But let's say China could partner up with Turkey. China could partner up with any other country, right? They already do that. This is exactly what's happening. If China partners with Iran and Iran is clearly more capable and stronger than Israel, then China by virtue could assert control over the Middle East. It might not happen now, it could happen in the future, but this is all it is. It's a game of resources, it's a game of power, it's a big ball penis weighing, a big dick weighing contest. This is what it is. We have to decide what we want. Do we want communism to reign supreme? Do we want theocracy, autocracy, capitalism, democracy? So this is what Americans need to ask themselves. We can't play a passive role if we want to be the biggest dog on the block. This is how I see it.
And listen, man, China's also watching how this war was unfolding. If you don't think that they're learning lessons from this war and they're planning on applying it to Taiwan, think again. China, they're preparing for something, and our reluctance to start this war and not carry it all the way through, they're going to interpret that as a sign of weakness. It's as
No,
simple as that.
no doubt, no doubt. So what do you think could happen as a result? What are the ramifications of not finishing this war? Other than the obvious, other than not having regime change.
You know, the aside from I think MBS in Saudi Arabia, what was widely reported is that the Arab countries of the Persian Gulf were, caught really off guard by this war, and they were not happy with just how it all started and how they say they weren't given sort of like any notice. And but now they want the US to keep fighting. Now they want the US to remove the regime. And so it's really the worst of both worlds because you started a war that caught them off guard and that they're getting, they're suffering the ramifications of it. And at the same time now, they're getting hit and they want you to remove this threat because holy shit, they didn't like this is the first time I don't think even Saddam launched Scud missiles at maybe he did. I was really young at that time. But I mean these Arab capitals are having IRGC ballistic missiles fired at them. And now they see just how insane this threat is, and they want the US to go in and remove the regime. And the US now is getting cold feet, which means that they're going to see it also as a sign of weakness. And this sort of circles back to the whole China thing. Remember that prior to October 7th, China facilitated, a reconciliation between the IRGC and Saudi Arabia. This happened under the Biden administration. Um, and China doesn't have the, sort of obviously any loyalty to Israel. That doesn't have anywhere near the same sort of relations between China and Israel and the US and Israel. So it's very likely that these Arab countries, these Arab monarchies, start looking to China more to sort out their differences with Iran. And that's really where China could start taking control of the Middle East. Uh, the the Arab countries of the Persian Gulf, they're highly dependent on Americans for their security. And the fact that they feel like they've been let down and sort of like left hanging to dry, it's not good. Um, and then the IRGC, they're just going to become more and more of a police state. They're basically the North Korea of the Middle East anyway. And again, yeah, it's been severely degraded. Nobody's going to make the argument that they have anywhere near the same capabilities as they had before the war started. But this has, a really bad effect on the Iranian people themselves because what this regime is going to do is it's just going to project its power inward more on the Iranian people. And Trump was right in the sense that this is probably the best shot that they had at regime change, like without a doubt. But like, had it happened sooner, when the uprising was at its fever pitch, we could be looking at a very different scenario right now. But yeah, it's and this is a little bit further into the future. This war is going to play a factor in the upcoming elections. And we are living in a country where both sides of the political spectrum, they're drifting further and further into their own extremes. We have the woke Reich on the right, and then we just have the fucking crazy ass leftists. So just brace for impact, man, because 2028 is gonna be an ugly fucking year.
It's crazy, man. I'll tell you, dude. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it kind of feels like there's some kind of messianic thing going on. It feels like things are about to be so mind-blowingly hard to imagine. I've become a lot more spiritual over time. I put things together. I do. My brain kind of puts sequences and series of events together. I don't know, man. It's been such a wild ride, though. I don't know what to make of all of it. Like I've been doubting that Israel would take it this far. I'm surprised in a good way. I thought Israel was gonna, you know, forfeit everything because they usually do. Whenever they're at crunch time, I've said this to you on previous discussions we've had. With Hamas, they backtrack. With Hezbollah, they backtrack. They pull out. They concede. They this that. This is the farthest Israel has gone. I mean, you could argue since 1948. I mean, these are threats to its existence, and Israel was always focused on surviving in the sense where they were invaded on multiple fronts. So this time around, they weren't invaded on multiple fronts, but the threat of being invaded on multiple fronts was there. And so we took it all the way. Now we're at the final stage, and it's super shaky because a lot of Americans don't like it. And they're talking about sending thousands of Marines in, which I wouldn't want, by the way. No one wants that. But fuck, because we don't want to harm civilians in Iran. But the IRGC doesn't really look like it's planning to slow down. I don't. Is that the only way to do it though? Like, couldn't we just keep attacking targets until they really have nothing left to shoot? Because if they can't really shoot missiles and drones, there's not much they can do. I mean, they can do things. They can send uh, cells to different countries, Jewish neighborhoods, etc. There are things they can do, but without drones and missiles, they don't have too much left.
Yeah, but I mean, it's that works if you're dealing with people that, are rational. But they're not rational. Like, even if they can't, fire off drones and missiles, at the end of the day, what you're talking about is getting rid of the regime. And you have to send ground troops in for that. Um, like, these people are willing to die for their cause. These are the same people that sent, little Iranian kids to run into minefields in the Iran-Iraq war. So we're dealing with a sick ideology. And that's the thing that it's frustrating because it seems like the world doesn't take that ideology seriously. Like, the Shia, the 12 are Shia. um, Islam has an apocalyptic worldview. Like, it has to bring about the Mahdi and the end times, and so they're they're planning on it. And we're going to come back to this scenario again. Something bad is going to happen to Israel again. Um, Hopefully, you can get rid of the threat in the north from Hezbollah. That would be great. I don't know how far Israel is willing to do that. Maybe if, they end the campaign against IRGC, they can consolidate more power towards southern Lebanon. But we are not taking people seriously at their word when they say that they're going to wipe, Israel off the map. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all I know is I know it's going to end up being fine. Meaning, I know Israel's not going anywhere. And how do I know that? I know that from history, and I know that from a spiritual. I just know. I just know, and I think you know that too.
I do. Like, that's one thing too, is like, you brought up becoming more spiritual lately, and that's been the same trajectory I've been on. When you know how things are going to end, you don't get as mad. You know that this is all just leading up to where it's going to lead to, and it's a good ending for Israel and the Jewish people. Not going to say there isn't going to be any suffering between then, but it's going to be a lot worse for Israel's enemies. You know.
Yeah, Rabbi Tuvia Singer speaks about this, man. I mean, he speaks about how all this is prophesied. It's weird, dude, because I'm such a skeptic. I'm the type to question everything religious, and you and I are in our 30s. I think what are you, a little older than me?
38,
38.
turning
Okay, you got a
39
couple,
July.
couple of years.
Yeah.
You're still in the dirty 30s. Um, Man, I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen, but it's gonna be fine. Honestly, dude, it's gonna be fine one way or another. So, fuck, man, it's a shame though. It's a shame that the regime probably will stay. What do you think? Now, a side question is: do you worry about Jewish existence in the U.S.? Do you worry that it's this boiling pot that's going to boil over and we're going to start, God forbid, but do you worry that it's going to be very problematic for Jews to live here in the next, say, 5 years? Or do you think once these wars kind of die out, people will forget?
This goes back to the spirituality, right? Like, I get it, man. If you're an atheist, you don't believe in religion at all, this sounds crazy to you, but it's my belief that God is calling the Jewish people back home. God is calling the Jewish people back to Israel. And you you might ask yourself sometimes, how are things this crazy? Like, how are people this stupid? How are people like buying into all these lies? And I can only answer that is that it's a spiritual war as much as it is a physical war. So I do think things are gonna get gradually worse here, and I understand that for a lot of Jews who live in the West, particularly the United States, they are gonna have well, I'm gonna stay here and fight against it, and totally, totally respectable. You know, give you respect for that, but I do think things are bigger than ourselves as individuals. I do think that there's a spiritual element at play, and I think God will, there will be signs like it is time to leave. It is time to leave because, I mean, I'm already seeing signs. When news anchors, after a terrorist tries to attack a Jewish day school, well, I think it was a day school in Michigan, right? Or was it a synagogue?
Yeah.
And the news anchors, in response to that, say, "Oh, well, the attacker's family, he lost some of his family in Lebanon," without mentioning that the dude's brother was in Hezbollah. Like, these aren't normal times. We're seeing crazy shit. We're seeing really crazy shit. And for me, the only way I can explain it is that it is supernatural.
Yeah, maybe it's weird because you see there's so many Jews in the US. I mean, where I live in Florida, there's so many people. They're living good lives, it's peaceful, but it's a tough thing to give up. It's a tough thing to give up because the US is a great place, you know? It's hard to think that that could eventually happen. It doesn't seem likely in the near future. I'm seeing everyone living their lives, all these Jews, different businesses. They have all their establishments, synagogues, networking events, restaurants, all these things. It's deeply established, and everyone's living these happy-go-lucky lives. But that was always the case. It was always like that throughout history, right? In Germany, the Jews were flourishing, and the Arab world, they were flourishing at times. And then suddenly everything just goes crazy, which is kind of sad in a way because currently it's a good life. You don't feel it.
It's tough to give up the security that the United States provides you. I mean, you know, Israel for Jewish people is a far, far, far better place to, return to than, let's say, Egypt is for Coptic people. Like, Coptic people don't move back to Egypt unless they're like really old and they just want to spend the rest of their days out there, or they came up on like a great business opportunity. Um, but I will say, just, little anecdotal evidence. I've met up with a few people that recently came back from Israel after visiting, and like literally each one of them said, "Yeah, in 3, 5 years, I'm moving out there." Like,
It's a
there's something
phenomenal.
about going to visit Israel right now in the aftermath of everything and in the midst of everything. It's having a really powerful effect on people who are visiting right now.
It's such a phenomenal place, man. But it's tough when you have your life set up somewhere else. But I'm by no means new here. I mean, you know, how many Jews had to give everything up and go. I mean, and I'm not even a wealthy guy. Imagine being a millionaire and having to leave it all behind. Like this is people have had to do this. Many of them. Many of them had real serious wealth. They had to leave with nothing. Can you imagine that? Oh my god.
Paying those Israeli taxes too?
It's
Dude, when I found out that, like, in Israel, when you buy a car, and I know, like, the first year that you make Aliyah, you have some, like, financial benefits. Like, I think you get, like, tax-free or something the first year or something like that. But, then life goes on and you're there for 2 years, 5 years. Like, when you buy a car and it's 100% tax, same thing in Egypt too, by the way. I'm just saying.
They need to fix I mean, they need to fix that. They need to figure out a way to fix that. There has to be a way to cut that shit out because you're you need to incentivize people to come. You either incentivize people to come or they're going to be forced to come. And ultimately, if they're forced, you're going to have to make these changes anyway because you know how Jews get, they're going to complain about it. But I mean, you're going to get the opposite. You'll get a I'm not what is the opposite of a brain drain?
A brain flood.
But is there a terminology? Is there an economic term for it?
I don't know because Israel's gone through it before when the Soviet Union collapsed and all the Soviet Jews were allowed to immigrate to Israel. That was a huge influx of like skilled labor.
Right.
It was a very, very educated class. I wonder what they called it back then though.
I guess we can just call it a brain flow, a brain increase. But I mean, it goes both ways because you do have Israelis that leave. Unfortunately, where are a lot of the Israelis coming to? Where I live, dude. Like a lot of the Israelis that have left, they're coming here. Like some come to go to Cali, some go to New York, I'm sure, but the majority right now, I think the number one destination for Israelis looking to kind of just chill out and not have to deal with missiles, they're coming here. You know, I mean, the Israeli government knows that Miami is like the second Israel. It's really crazy. It's like a known thing.
Do you ever run into Yair Netanyahu?
Ah, maybe not. Yeah,
I heard he stays out there.
yeah. You know, I just for his safety. I mean, people know what they know, but I don't want to divulge. You know,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's hopefully he stays safe. But it's crazy. I don't know. You know what, man? All I can do is just live my life day by day, and I'm just gonna take what God gives me. I'm just gonna go with the flow. If it becomes 1 second, just fire truck. Yeah, I mean, I think we'll know. We'll know. You know, we'll start if it really gets that bad, we'll see signs.
I mean, I just
I thought, well, you could say there are signs already, but I mean, Jewish people they have a very funny uh like there's a threshold and Jews will really cope and rationalize. It would take weekly shul attacks. Like it would take every week a different shul getting attacked for Jews to be like, all right, like this is serious fucking shit. We really this is not this is this is past the point of something manageable. We got to get the hell out of here. So
I think I think the 2028 election is going to be a major, major turning point. I don't think, I think no matter what, it's going to be a horrible candidate, whether you vote right wing or left wing. Um, and there's a good chance that it is a far left candidate. Like we are looking at the real possibility of like an AOC esque candidate winning. And you have to remember, what did Biden in was the energy prices that did Biden in. And I called it too. I was like, oh, this motherfucker losing the election. The second gas hit $6 again. I was like, oh, bro, over, over.
yeah,
And it paved the way for the most improbable political comeback of all time. So, and the elections in this country, it's a pendulum, just swings from one direction to the other. So I think no matter what, the outcome of the presidential election is going to have a major impact on how comfortable Jewish people feel to live in this country. Because I mean, Jewish people are already, particularly in the Northeast, they're already saying, "Fuck this Mamdani shit, we're going to Miami," right? I feel like it's only a matter of time before that shit catches up to Florida.
Miami's a corridor. Miami is literally a corridor. It's like some Israelis are coming here, American Jews are going there. Some Israelis are moving back, but Miami is kind of like it feels like the final stand. You know, kind of it really feels like a hallway to Israel, so to speak, and Israelis are kind of, Jews are kind of just coming back and forth, but it really, it feels like these are the only two places right now where Jews can be safe. Israel's going to be the permanent spot. Miami's right now the temporary spot, but this is just what it feels like to me. It's crazy.
I
I'm
mean,
not the only one. I'm not the only one that sees this. I can't be the only one that sees this.
I was at
Yeah.
a pre-Passover event this last Sunday, and this is in LA, Hollywood, right? And I'm getting there, and it's like people are so fortunate to have this. And I was thinking to myself, well, how rare is it for this type of event to occur in LA? Because LA has a huge Jewish population, but there's also a lot of leftists amongst that Jewish population. Like it is Hollywood, it is the entertainment industry. And right now, the Overton window in the entertainment industry is about being more sympathetic to the Palestinians. It's free Gaza all day, right? So like I think the difference is in Miami, you have that, that freedom, that higher level of comfort to be Jewish, be Israeli. You have that better sense of community right now. I feel like in LA, people it almost felt like people don't have that sense of community anymore. And the event in and of itself was like a godsend. And it was really fun. Like it was really great event. I had such a great time. And the people who put it together were great. Megan, they were over there. They were great. But it is Jews, feeling more and more squeezed out of places where they called home for the longest time.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. What do you think? We were talking about this earlier. What do you think of the reform movement? Not how do you think it's going to fare if it becomes let's focus on California. If California becomes very dangerous for Jews, what do you think the reform Jews are going to do? Do you think they're going to start begging everyone to kind of love them? I mean, that's what they do. So you think they're going to try to say, "Please let us stay. We'll do whatever you say. We'll get rid of our Jewish identity. Whatever you want. We just want to be accepted. We want to stay in the United States."
It's hard to say. It's hard to say because, for sure, not every Reform Jew is like so far to the left where it's like suicidal as far as it relates to Israel. But it's tough. I'm not sure what the percentages are in the United States for like if the vast majority of Jewish people here are like reform or conservative. Do you know that?
That's a good question, but I would say it's probably the highest. I would say I'm speculating. I threw my phone away, so I wouldn't see any notifications. If you want to quickly check it out,
Like, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, a Jew is a Jew is a Jew. Um, but from what I've gathered, and this is sort of outside perspective, is that more and more reform synagogues are struggling to sort of fill in the seats, for lack of better words. And I think it's because assimilation in the reform movement in particular is so high. I feel like that creates the environment to where somebody feels a little bit less attached to their Jewish identity, and they're more likely to sort of forego it, to just go along, to not, you know, cause a stir, to kind of like put your head down and stuff like that. Um,
that's
I
a,
mean,
you know
I go to a conservative synagogue, because I don't live anywhere near Orthodox synagogue, so I go to a conservative synagogue, and everybody there is like really like gun ho about Israel, like very, very, very supportive. And I've been to a Reform
conservatives
synagogue,
tend to be much more conservative. Conservatives tend to be a lot more pro-Israel. That's the thing.
and I went to a Reform synagogue, and they have the Israeli flag there too. They have the little Israeli flags all around the place. But I'll tell you a story, and because it ties into this. When I was considering, um, oh, maybe I'll look into Judaism and see if it's something that I enjoy, something I feel like a calling to. I was on Reddit, right? And there was a subreddit called converting to Judaism. And there were a few posts about people who wanted to convert to Judaism, but wanted to be anti-Zionist Jews. And it was only, they were only attempting this at Reform synagogues.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's kind of like Reform Jews are like the only ones who seem to really want converts. It's
I don't know what the process is like at all, right? Like at all, because I've never even inquired. I never asked a rabbi or anybody like, "Hey, I would like to convert." So I have no idea what the process entails. Um, I will say I had a question like a few weeks ago where somebody asked me if it was easier to convert, would I do it? And my gut reaction to that would be like, no, because what Rabbi Singer told me is that, because I'm a Noahide, he says that I can say I follow the Jewish faith. But converted Judaism is saying that you feel a calling to the Jewish nation, right? And just like I wouldn't want any shortcuts with the immigration process for somebody coming to America, right? I feel like if you feel that is your calling to join the Jewish nation, then you should be willing to put in the work. Now, maybe they could have a more standardized process, so that way it's a little bit more consistent across the board. But to say I would want it to be easier, you know, it's I wouldn't want to cut corners or something like that. And I think the good thing about the conversion process that it takes a long time is that it does weed out people who they're not really in it. Like I'm not saying that they don't like Judaism, I'm not saying that they don't find it like beautiful and they can, get meaning from it, but there's something about that level of commitment that, just weeds out the people who for whom maybe it's a passing phase, and those who genuinely feel like they belong to the nation of Israel, and that they were simply Jewish, they had a Jewish soul all this time, but they were sort of born in the wrong body, or born into a wrong faith.
right. Makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. Yeah.
I'm
Well,
telling
I
you, man,
think
I'd be listening to the lectures.
yeah,
I'd be
no, no,
listening to the lectures.
I think it's good that it's tough. I think it has more meaning that way. I mean, yeah. I wonder. I wonder if I would convert if I wasn't Jewish. I don't know. I feel like I probably wouldn't. It's like it's such a beautiful family to be a part of. But I mean, Mike, you're a family member. You're part of the family, and you're not. You don't have to abide by all these complicated things. And you can stay in the states as a non-Jew, and everything goes to shit. I'm sure you probably prefer to do that. So it would make
I don't know, man, because like now I'm basically like Jewish adjacent. Like, I have the Star of David tattooed right here.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I got Hebrew right here. So it's like there could be
Yeah,
an
I
easy
mean, you
case
tatted
of
it on you. Yeah, that's true. I mean, you tatted it on you. So, like, if we were in Germany, yeah, you'd be joining us.
there's no
Uh,
explaining that away.
yeah, yeah, and it's not like you look European, so it's like, damn it.
Oh, it's funny because at that same pre-Passover event, right? I was sitting down just chilling, and this guy comes up to me and starts speaking to me in Hebrew and like gives me a hug. I'm like, I've never seen this dude in my life, right? Like literally never seen him in my life. He's like, "What's your name?" I was like, "Michael." He's like, "You're not Israeli?" I'm like, "No, I'm Egyptian." He's like, "You look exactly like my friend from Israel. I thought you were him."
That's
Literally never seen him before in my life.
yeah,
And
dude.
he taps me
Yeah,
on the shoulder, hugs me, he starts speaking to me in Hebrew. It was so funny.
yeah, yeah. It's fucking awesome. I mean, you know a couple of words at this point, so you probably, you could make out the for sure the foundational words. So that's pretty cool. I have a buddy who was adopted. I believe he comes from a white non-Jewish family, and a Jewish couple adopted him, and he grew up Jewish. But we were making a dark joke about how if they were rounding, God forbid, if they were rounding up Jews in the U.S., or if we were living in Nazi times in Germany, he would be able to evade capture. And I was like, would I be able to? He's like, nah, bro, you'd be on those trains, dude. You wouldn't make it. I was like, damn it. He's like, nah, there's too much Jew on your face. You wouldn't fucking, yeah. which I'm very proud of. But it's like, yeah,
As someone who's, often mistaken for being Jewish and Israeli, I take it as a compliment. You
yeah,
know, God gave me a distinguished nose for a reason.
yeah, dude, it's yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's how Ashkenazi Jews are still Jews. So many of us still have the schnoz. Mine is actually pretty decent. I mean, it has some length, but it doesn't have the bridge. So like mine, I got pretty lucky.
It's always like if you're gonna call me like if you're gonna tell me that Jews aren't like indigenous to the area, but then you say like, you think I'm Israeli and you make all these comments, and then I'm like, literally 100% Coptic Egyptian, got the DNA test to prove it. What does that say about your theory? Like you're gonna make comments about my nose and Israelis, but Israelis, so many of them look nearly identical to me.
Yeah,
So
it's true, 100%. Yeah, I wouldn't even think about it for a second. If I saw you just walking around Tel Aviv, it wouldn't even cross my mind. Yeah, like there are some. I mean, you wouldn't identify as Arab, but I'm saying there are so many Arabs that have a very distinct face that I can look at them and be like, the chances that this guy's Jewish is pretty much zero. But yeah, you have a face that can definitely pass. All right, so Mike, is there anything else that you want to cover? Anything else on your mind? Any finishing thoughts?
nothing that's coming to mind. I think we covered it all. I'm glad, man, too, because I had like just all these thoughts about Iran eating me up, bro. Finally got to say it out loud.
Nice. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
tough.
to anybody who's anti-Israel, anti-Semite, they're watching this. Like, really question the shit you're watching, man, because it's embarrassing how obviously fake what you're watching is. Really, like, just dig a little bit. It's insane the amount of lies I saw over the last 2 weeks. Nuts. Like, there was that one story where they said that an Israeli man prevented a Christian woman from using like the bomb shelter. And it turns out, like, that incident happened. Like, a man did try to prevent a group of people from using a bomb shelter, but they were all Jews. So,
There's been all kinds of shit. Everything. Everything's AI. The internet world is such a trip, dude. People were bugging about BB being killed. I even for a second was questioning it. I was like, what's the deal here? I was like, is the coffee video, the cafe video real? Is he alive? Like, I reached out to a friend of mine and he's like, bro, what are you talking about? Of course he's alive. I was like, I want to be wrong, but I'm started having my doubts. I'm freaking out. Like like Israel if he was killed, Israel probably wouldn't admit it right away because it wouldn't be strategic. And I was like, fuck. I started to wonder.
see, I had the opposite opinion. I was under of the belief that like if that did happen, that like nobody in Israel would be able to shut up about it. Like you would have found out within 24 hours. They would
Yeah.
not have kept it under wraps that long because that like they have to bury him according to Jewish tradition. And it just felt so like fantastical. Like yeah, you guys killed Khamenei and then they killed, and get the fuck out of here. Like
Yeah. And also, but then there's the thought of like the story can't end that way. This guy can't die. He's not the guy in the horror movie that dies first. It's got to be a black dude. No, but it's true though. It's true. Or it's either a black guy or a woman. It's never. It can't be BB.
not the main character.
They got to stop with that shit. The black guys don't deserve to die first. You guys have to cut it out with that shit. All right, they can run fast enough. Okay, but anyway, it's got BB had to have been alive. I told myself it was like there's no way.
I mean, could you imagine how much harder Israel would have hit Iran if that was true? Like you got the prime. Oh, dude, I'm sorry. If BB, if they kill BB, a nuke is going off.
I don't know about that though. You think they would drop a nuke because they would be killing like potentially millions of civilians? Oh, that would be so crazy. Do you think Israel would
I mean,
do?
like a low yield tactical nuke.
Yeah, but where would they drop it? Because they would inevitably kill thousands of people.
Yeah, I know. I just think, like I think Israel would use that deterrence. Yeah. If they kill the prime minister,
But okay, but let's break that down. Why do you think? Because I thought that also, but why do you think that would be the next move? Because you could argue, okay, well, Israel could just put someone else in the chair. Killing a bunch of civilians could escalate it to a crazy place where another country could threaten to nuke Israel. Like, whoa.
I think it's because it's the Middle East. I think,
What I'm wondering now is if America or Israel threatened to nuke Iran now, do you think Iran would just call the bluff and say, "No, you're not going to do it"? Because if they said either you step down as the leadership or we nuke you,
they'll call their bluff.
yeah.
Wouldn't do it now. No.
Nor do I want them
And they
to.
would have the entire world support too. Like,
God, man, I would never fucking want that though. Like unless Iran had nukes themselves and we're literally about to use them, like man, because I don't see Iranians as the enemy. You know, the vast majority of them. I don't want them. I don't want them to get hurt. That's the biggest problem. Like if the entire Iranian population hated America and Israel, it would be a different story. But it makes it so much harder to win because Israel and the United States are trying everything not to harm civilians, and the Iranian government knows that,
and they're
and they're
doing a
taking.
good job too, by the way. Like, I know that there's still some controversy over that school that got hit. I don't know if they ever like really figured it out, but all things considered, they are really taking like painstaking effort to avoid civilian deaths. Like, at some point, it is unavoidable. Like, it's gonna happen no matter what. But I mean, these are, for the most part, precision strikes, highly targeted. I mean, you don't take out Khamenei within the first minute of the campaign without, going through painstaking lengths to not target civilians. Like, it's not indiscriminate. Um, so it is a catch-22 because you don't want to hurt the people there. You really don't. And Israel and the United States, they do enjoy a great deal of support on the ground. Um, but we'll see, man. Like this regime is determined to get nukes. That's the thing too. Is they're determined, and you'll never kill their determination to get nukes um, without taking out the regime. That's the only way. That is the only way. They live by their ideology, and those nukes. I mean, and those nukes aren't just meant for Israel. Those nukes are meant to intimidate the Arab countries of the Persian Gulf, so that Iran can exercise more power over them. So yeah,
Shit, yeah, that's crazy, man. Okay, well, I think this is a good time to wrap it up. So, damn it, it's just a heavy discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for making it to the end of this episode of the Soothing Semantics podcast. I'm your host, Rafi Pinsky. Make sure, as always, to smash the like button, leave your comments, subscribe to the channel. Make sure to follow Mike Gamel at Coptic Kapara on the social media on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at Coptic Cave. That's Cave with a K, right? Yes.
yep. Coptic Cave. You search Michael Gamal on YouTube, and it comes up.
Perfect. Gamal, exactly how it sounds. Gamal. What else? Yeah, South Florida real estate. Hit me up. And thank you again for watching. Peace.